Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Maya.
Hello. And welcome to everyone to another episode of The Wild Ways. And today we have such a special guest on such a special day. For you, those of you who are in the future already, today for Sophie is May 1st. And it's a full moon in Scorpio, the flower moon. And it is also Beltane. And I was looking it up. Beltane is actually the celebration of the peak of fertility. So, of course, I'm going to interview a pregnant lady on the peak of fertility. That makes sense. And not only am I interviewing a soon to be mother, but she's here to tell us about the father because that's how these things work. So, yeah, today we're going to meet the father of the plant world, the majestic oak. And yeah, for those of you who've read my book, you know I have a mad love affair with oak in general, but with one oak. Do you know this, Sophie? I have like this one oak. Somebody asked me once if you could marry any plant or any tree, and it was like I don't even need to think. I'm like, it's that one oak at the intersection of Mechanic Street and Oak Road. I hope the people don't hate me that I just pinned their tree. But
I
yeah,
love that.
and so I'm so excited, because I love oak as a faraway admirer, and you actually have sat with the plant, talked to the plant, talked to the tree, and yeah, I'm so excited to learn everything you're bringing to this podcast today. And so before we go into it, let me tell you about this wonderful human being that joins us today. So Sophie joins us. Her new nest is in the Red Rocks of Sedona. But for the past year, she's been globe trotting like all over the world, literally for about a year. And before that, you were in Peru. Before that, you were in Washington, I call what I call the water nation, right by the lake there, and it's the Sound, right by the Sound. That's where you were. And yeah, and before that, you were in Costa Rica. So Sophie is an Akashic record reader. She does human design readings, and she also works with flowers. Like I remember she does extracts and potions. I don't actually know even the whole line of what you offer. I just know I bought this thing of rose from you that I love that thing so much. Like I used to spray it everywhere, like on myself and my room.
Mm.
And I kept the bottle for a long time, hoping you would refill it, but we were not on the same side of the earth. So, and here we are. So, Sophie, so such a warm, excited welcome to have you on the Wild Ways today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Maya. Thank you for having me on this auspicious day
Yes.
and to talk about something that we both love so dearly. I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I hope so. So, tell us. So, like I know a little bit about your story. For the listeners, I actually asked Sophie to not tell me too much because I was getting so excited when she was talking about it. I was like, okay, don't like no spoilers. I want to be fresh when you tell the story. So I think of it a little bit as a hero's journey. There was a call, and then you went. And so, can you tell us what was going on in your life when you heard the call from Oak, and what did that look like?
So it was around this time last year, probably was in April when it came into my awareness. And during that time, I was in Washington. I had just kind of come back from, you know, a good amount of time living in Costa Rica, going to Peru, and this strong mission was on my heart to really bring through my gifts and to share my offerings in a bigger way and kind of like take it a little more seriously, I guess. And so I had just spent almost almost a year doing that in Washington and doing readings. And I was in the process of, I think I was in the middle of teaching my first round of Akashic Awakening, which is a training to learn how to read your own Akashic records. And so in the midst of this, I could kind of feel this question of like, what comes next after this? Now that I've like put this out into the world, like, what am I really being called to do? Is it continuing on this path, or is there something else? Um, or is there some different variation of this? So I was kind of in this like questioning space. And around that time is when Oak came a knocking and kind of just showed up. And first, initially, it was just a conversation I saw online with Jordan Mockingbird, who holds these tree diets, and another person, and they were talking about the oak. And something just really sparked for me. And I had known that I would do a diet with trees at some point. As soon as I heard that was a thing, I was like, 100%, I'm there, like whenever the time is right. So I was already pretty open to whenever it came into my field. And that was the first little ping that I got. And so I just kind of like sat with it and um, yeah, just really asked for it to be clear, like if this is coming in for this time, like is Oak wanting to work together right now? So I had a call with the facilitator, and I would go also talk to like the oaks that were in the local area and just kind of like, okay, make it clear for me. And so I just was in the listening, and it became clear through that. Like it was coming up in the most wild ways. Like on little apps on my phone, it would be like oak, blah, 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 like just so random. And so I was like, okay, I hear you. Yeah, the call was pretty clear at that point.
Nice. And so you answered that call.
Did. I
Yeah,
said, hey, Oak, let's do it.
let's do it.
I'm down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you went, how long were you in diet with the oak?
So it's an 8-day diet. Um, and you're camping in this particular one. You're like actually in an oak grove in California. And yeah, 8 days with the whole container itself is like a 6-week process because there's a preparation and then a post diet period.
And during the preparation, are you sitting with oak already?
I personally was because that just felt right to me. Like I would just go to this beach that had, an oak tree that I really liked
Oh,
there.
I
So
know
I would
that
sit
oak.
with the oak. Yeah.
I know that oak. It's the big one.
Oh, precious.
We sat under that oak
I
together.
know. Right.
Yeah, so you sat
So
with the
sweet.
oak during the preparation, and so you clean up your diet, and what else is involved?
In the pre-diet.
Yeah.
Yeah, starting to eat a lot more clean and simple. And um, he also has you begin the breath work that you do during the diet beforehand. So it's like a 10-minute kind of meditative breath that you do each day, and just like getting clear, on your intentions and what your prayer is for this diet.
Hmm. So then,
Hmm.
so then you go on location where you camp, and then what happens?
Oh my gosh. So much. Yeah. So basically, um, what that looks like is you are going totally disconnected, like off grid. You put your phones, all your screens away for the whole time. And you set up your campsite and, have your own little like home with your stuff. And then there's also a main kind of temple space where you gather 3 times a day. So the entire experience is in silence. It's kind of like like the Vipassana style, like you're not speaking for the most part, other than when you have check-ins with the facilitator, or if like you really need to share something, of course you can. Otherwise, you can sing, you can pray, and other than that, you're just in silence. You can journal and read. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of like that's the setup. You're eating very simple. For anyone who doesn't know diet food, it's like plain oats with plain plantain for breakfast and just cooked vegetables with rice or quinoa, just no seasoning, no salt. Very, very simple, like monk food style. So you get a couple meals a day, and you're drinking a liter of oak tea made with the bark.
Is that is that
And
pretty thick?
the tea?
Yeah.
Nope, it's just like normal, like herbal tea
It really.
that you would drink.
What does it taste
Yeah, and
like?
it has, oh, I like the taste. Just like a sweet, like earthy
Really? So
tree. I'm
so
trying to like bring my mind back to it. Yeah,
so it's the bark that you
good.
make the tea with. Just
Generally, I
just the
think
bark, not the
I
leaves or any other parts?
there's times where he's really tuning into like what part of the tree, which bark to use to make it. So I feel like there might have been a day where leaves were involved, but generally it's like it's the bark. Yeah,
So a liter a day minimum, or that's it? That's your quota.
that's it.
That's
It's
it.
like you get your jar, you get your mason jar of tea during the morning session when you gather. And then you kind of are free to just sip that at your own pace throughout the day. Yeah.
And are there, I'm assuming there's other practices like you sit with the oaks and you said you work with tobacco too during that sitting.
Yes. Yeah. So the three times that you meet each day, there's the morning, afternoon, and evening session. And those are structured ceremonies. Those are the structured practices that you have throughout this week. And tobacco in the oak diet is what helps support the connection to the plant, similar to how ayahuasca would be used with other traditional plant diets to help open and facilitate like the full receiving of the plant's medicine. In this case, the oak. So tobacco is kind of like this facilitator of that connection.
Is it mapacho?
So the two different types of tobacco that we worked with come from this the paste that Jordan makes. So he creates a really thick concentrated paste of tobacco. Yeah, like mapacho leaves turned cooked down, so it's like really thick, sticky paste. And then there's a few different ways that we work with it throughout the diet. So in the morning session, this is yeah, this is how you start the day essentially. You wake up and beautiful sunrise, the drum beats, you're called to the temple and gathering with all the other people participating. And you start the day with a lovely tobacco and garlic sinus rinse. So it's essentially
Do
like a
tell.
neti pot.
A neti pot of garlic and tobacco. I
Yes.
respect for the medicine. It's just such a visual. What is it like? Is it as potent as I imagine it is?
It's a bit intense. It's a bit intense. Yeah. It's really watered down, so it's not like it's like so intensely strong, but it's definitely an intense protocol. It's going in your nose and then like hacked out of your mouth, basically. Instead of like in one nostril and out the other, it's like, yeah, that's
Like
the process.
sometimes I wonder. I mean, of course, all my friends are plant lovers and they are plant medicine trusters. But sometimes I wonder when I do these podcasts what it sounds like to somebody who's not really met plants in that way. It's like Sydney, Jenna, you, it's always like, yeah, we we eat just bland food and we put garlic up our nose. And I just love how, yeah, it's like this devotion. It's like it goes beyond what people think is pleasant, and it's actually not unpleasant when you're in the ceremonial space because you understand the the teachings that are necessary, or the support that, like the support of tobacco, the support of garlic, like it's a whole system. So when we, I think when we yeah, when we diet a tree or a plant, there's like this whole network, not only of humans but other plants that are here to help. And so it's wonderful that tobacco would step in this way for you, and it made a
Yeah.
difference, like you felt more connected from this practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it was, yeah, it was really profound to connect with tobacco in this new way through the body. And of course the focus was on oak throughout the time, but it was also yeah, tobacco held a very strong, it was almost like the foundational elements that allowed the oak to really blossom and to really teach us.
I mean, I guess tobacco is the grandfather, so that makes sense that the grandfather would support the father.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that too because we talked about how it was the original medicine in a way, the original plant teacher. The stories say that that's how they learned how to create ayahuasca was through the spirit of tobacco. So it's yeah, it's a really beautiful ally.
So, what does it feel like when you are sitting with oak that closely? Is it more of a communion, like you feel him inside of you? Is it more of a dialogue? Is it both? How does he present himself? How, or specifically to you, how did he present himself?
Mhm. It's really interesting because the way that Oak presented himself to me throughout the week actually changed and evolved as we got deeper. So from the beginning, like I already have a connection with trees personally where feel I feel them, you know, we can have dialogue and communication and connection. And so from the beginning, I was just really getting into that space deeper that I'm already familiar with in kind of the conversation with trees, but just centered on oak. And then as the days went on, it got deeper to the point where I felt the voice of oak in a very different way, where it was like very clear that it was not through my own, you know, sometimes it's like the communication comes, you feel it from the tree, but it's like filtered through your own senses. This was like just oak. um, and it would come in almost like flashes of visions that were just such a different texture and feeling than anything that I'm used to. So it definitely it changed over the week.
So did he really feel like the father? Like, did he own up to his reputation?
So the first experience that I had with oak was experiencing this like level of protection and provision. So like you come up to a tree, you stand next to the trunk. I remember just experiencing the branches and the leaves coming out and down and around me and this sensation of like I've got you. You're so taken care of, and even more specifically everything that exists out there, it's all good. Like, I got you. You're here, and all you need to do is just be you and just be. And for me, that feels very like feminine, and that protection and that provision feels very fatherly, very masculine. Like, I've got everything in the outside world, and you're good to just be here and be in your magic and your medicine, whether that's creating or bringing beauty or enjoying yourself, you know, all of these things. So, yeah. Um to speak to some of the other qualities of oak that I feel are key to kind of understanding what it is that he brings and transmits is the strength and the sturdiness and like the unshakableness. I think about how we build so much out of oak, right? Like there's a reason that we build out of oak. It's so strong. It's such a sturdy wood. And if you look at an oak tree too, you could see all these like different shapes of branches, but they're not moving in the wind like other trees. The leaves might rustle, but like the branches are just boom, they're just where they are. And so that was a really big, I guess, one observation of oak, but also what I received from oak and what I got to receive internally and develop more deeply inside of me was these different qualities of sturdiness, of strength, of what it means to really be unshakable, like to not move for anybody, to not move for anything, to just like you're just there, you're just you. And that, to bring it back around, also really feels like a masculine trait, like to be the pillar that doesn't bend or shake or move from its truth, from what it is, from its authenticity.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it kind of began on the outside as, I'm the father and I protect you, energy from the plant world. And then it moved more
Yeah.
as a reflection of something you already had inside of you that needed to be released or amplified.
Yeah. That's definitely, yeah, I would say how it worked.
So did you feel radically different at the end of the dieta in terms of those qualities you had acquired from oak?
I would say, yeah, I felt radically different. And I would also say that it took some time to land it. Um, Months, and even now seeing like just the trajectory from that experience a year later, it definitely played out over time. But I would also say that immediately afterwards, there was also like a big shift. Like in an obvious physical symptom way, I was experiencing these levels of anxiety that just weren't normal for me prior to the oak. And it was an intention I had kind of going into that experience of just working with that, working through whatever was going on there. And I, by the end, just didn't have that quality of anxiety anymore. And I still haven't since. So it's pretty cool.
Hmm.
And I just felt steadier in the world too. Like I stayed a few more days in the area, like after the diet ended. And then I went on a solo road trip to Joshua Tree and camped there. And I remember just feeling so steady and so just, that's the best word I think I could say. So steady in myself, you know, to just be on like road trip, traveling, camping alone, which isn't something it's not like I've never done that before, but it can bring up different things. And I just felt so steady, like the oak. Something else that came through, like I mentioned before, one of my intentions going in was to gain deeper clarity of like, what am I really here to do, or like what's coming next. And so I received a vision during this diet that it took me a long time to actually really grasp and fully kind of claim, but it was the first time that I saw it. And the way that it came to me was being part of participating in a birth and supporting mothers and helping bring babies into the world.
And that was before you
And
were pregnant.
that was before I was pregnant. Totally. Yes. um, so it was almost shocking to me. I was very deeply moved by it. I was like, wow, that would be just the biggest honor. Like, what a gift. Wow. But I couldn't really understand it on a personal level. I was like, but I've never done that. Like, I'm not a mom. Like, I don't really know where this is coming from. But like, I could feel the deep resonance there. Um, so, so that was something that was kind of like really like emerged itself during that week. And, over the course of the next months, I continued to sit with that and be with that. And it wasn't until I went to France in October. Um, it was a Mary Magdalene pilgrimage. And that's where I really fully let myself claim it and be like, yes, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm here to do. And kind of like just a release of like the blocks of like how we block ourselves from receiving what's meant for us, and what God wants for us, and like how amazing it gets to be. So I released those pieces and really claiming it and feeling it and just so excited. And then 5 days after that retreat, I got pregnant. And uh
Well, let's bring babies
and
into the world, and I'll start with me.
yeah, here we go.
Here we go. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm. So it really feels in some ways like oak. Obviously, there's so many factors and years leading up to all of this, of course, a whole lifetime. But in some ways, it really feels like oak really helped crack that open and allow this whole new timeline that I'm now fully in
Yeah,
to
you're
emerge
studying to
and
be
to
a
be
doula
birthed.
right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm training to be a doula. I'm about to become a mother myself. I'm living in a whole new place. It's a whole new
New
life, it feels like.
timeline. Yeah.
I'm engaged. It's wild.
So you had never even thought about being a doula before you died at Oak.
No,
Wow. That's
I never thought
incredible.
of that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So,
I had been receiving different little nudges about work with women and the womb for probably a year or a year and a half before that. I was getting little nudges, but that was the first time that doula or birth ever came in.
well, yeah. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, so you also are engaged. So, what are some of the changes? Like you went into Oak. How did it change your
Mm,
relationship to the masculine that's embodied in male bodies, if that's the question? You know what I mean? How did it
mm,
change?
yeah.
How did it change your relationship to the masculine in general in the world?
That's a really, really good question. I would start with, because it helped me cultivate it within myself, I felt a deeper level of security and safety and yeah, security and safety within my own system that then allowed me to feel more secure and safe with the masculine on the outside. Um, so whatever little bits of kind of trust or where I was out of integrity with myself, a lot of working with Oak was like cleaning up things that weren't in integrity, like places that I was holding shame or hadn't forgiven myself, or those are the big ones for me.
So like things you've done or relationships you were in and still carrying some shame or guilt about that and clearing that, is that what you mean?
Not necessarily just about past relationships, but it was just in general, like things from the past that I just hadn't fully forgiven or released, that created a lack of coherence. So, as the oak worked with me and we worked together to create more coherence, to create more integrity and sturdiness in my own system and trust, that I feel like is like cultivating the masculine principle of like being that pillar. And so then if I could be that in the world, I don't need other people to be a perfect, like I don't need, because I am here, I don't need them to show up in a perfect way, whatever that means. And so that creates a lot of freedom and a lot of safety. And also just being able to enjoy and receive what it was that the masculine was bringing me in my life. For example, my partner, who is so amazing and giving and loving and generous, and really provides that same sensation of the oak of like, I've got you, like you're good, this protection and provision. And I think a lot of us have fear and distrust around that as women. Like, why do you want to give that to me? Or like, what's the catch? Like that kind of thing. And so to feel it in this really, really clear and pure way, like from a tree, helped me integrate that into my relationship as well. And to just be more open to receive and to enjoy his provision
Mm,
and his
wow.
love and his
I
protection.
can totally see that. I can totally see how it would be easier to receive it from a tree because you wouldn't,
Right?
there's all these thoughts that like past experience of conditionedness. There is like, what do you want? What do you want in exchange?
Yeah.
And from a tree, we're able to just receive it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we know there's no strings attached. Like what's a tree gonna need from us?
Yeah.
Like
Wow,
yeah.
that's wonderful. So things changed also in that aspect. I mean, you're engaged and you've like you have changed your whole relationship. Now, did you notice, for example, your partner, did you notice him change in reflection to your own changes, or was he always steady and sturdy and suddenly you were able to see it? Or do you feel, because you've changed timeline, literally, is he different?
Yeah. I think definitely my experience of him changed. But it feels like it was more of an inner shift for me. But then of course everyone responds to your shift. So I'm sure there was, but in my experience it feels more like my perception changed. Yeah.
Of course, I know Jaren, and I know he is actually the oak. So that
I know
that
it's
man
crazy.
is
I
the
feel like
oak.
he is the oak. Crazy.
Yep, you're about to marry the oak and have little
I
saplings,
know. I'm so grateful.
beautiful saplings coming into the world right there. Yeah, that's wonderful. So, I'm thinking about listeners out there, and they're like, well, I'd like to connect with oak, but maybe I don't know, the space or the time or the funds to truly dedicate some time to do a diet with oak. But you said before you even went into diet, you were already talking to trees. So can you speak more on that? Like how did you start talking to trees and what does it look like and how can one do that? I mean, that's basically
Mm,
the beginning of everything.
I love this question. Yeah, we can all talk to trees. um, I immediately flashed back to years ago when I was deepening my relationship with nature in general, and also when I was opening up the Akashic Records. So I was really starting to tap into my own senses and intuition. And I remember reading this book during that time. I'll see if I can remember the name. I feel like it was like The Intelligence of Plants or like something like
Plant
that. But
Plant
he,
Intelligence in the Imaginal Realm by Stephen Buhner.
is that what it
Is it
is?
a big green book?
Is that the one? I I don't remember.
Okay, tell me
I think
more.
I listened to it actually.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah. I remember it. Yeah. If it's the one where he, like, yeah, he talked about a lot of science and stuff, but then he also took you into practices of connecting to the field of your heart and extending that to the plants and like coming into like a childlike curiosity to communicate with plants. And so that was kind of like a spark of the beginning of really getting into, ooh, what is this world like of communication with the plant world? And it was just really beautifully articulated in that book. And I wish I could remember for sure what it was. Um, but it was one of those plant books. And
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the one
um,
because what you describe is exactly,
yeah,
yeah, it was like half the first book was all
okay,
science, and then he talks about the
yeah,
golden thread and how to have it and everything you do, including talking to plants. Yes. Yeah,
cool.
that book
So
that book
we'll
was
go with
my
that.
Bible for, yeah, it's funny. I had actually started writing my book about talking to plants, and then I ran into this book,
Mm,
and it was just like I was glad that I found this book after I already wrote mine, because otherwise I would have been like, well, I'm just regurgitating. So instead of being a regurgitation of something somebody else said, it was like, whoa, I wrote the same thing, and so this must be a truth. If you wrote about it and I wrote about
mm,
it, then there is it's in the field basically. So that book was very important, seminal for me, really. Yeah.
mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And I also will just throw in right now that I read your book, I read Maya's book during the oak tree diet. We could read,
During
the
the
things that were
diet. Oh my
during
God,
the
I am
diet.
so honored.
And it was my one reading material that I had with me. And I didn't finish it until the following week, but
But you
I
did get to the
purposefully
oak.
waited. I did get to the oak, and it was the perfect book to read during that time because it's
Oh,
about
wow.
talking to plants and the magic of the world, and then also just your voice, as a friend in the stories. And it was just very like fitting and comforting and magical that I got to
Wow.
read it during that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it's such a funny
Hmm.
thing, After I wrote the book, I was just so focused on publishing it. I noticed I stopped talking to plants. So here I am publishing a book about talking to plants, and I just went into like work mode, and then I kind of,
Mm,
I became so focused. It was more like not even hey hi. It was like, oh, there's a tree. And it took some work to go back to it. So it's really a skill we need to engage in constantly, and keep that thing own. Though some of them are loud. So yeah, I've been stealing plants from the corridor to bring to these podcasts. And there's this one with this broad leaf that I wanted. So I put it there, and it literally said, I don't want to be here. I want to stay outside with my friends. And so I'm like setting up everything to interview you. And I was like, okay. So I carried the pot back outside, and then I went down the line, and I asked each one, hey, who wants to be in a podcast? And this one, my friend here, said, I'll do it.
aw.
And it's such a, it's such a mind. It's all about trust and magic, because it's
Mm,
so easy to go into, well, I completely made it up. The plants are not really talking to me. The oak is not really talking to me. You just needed, like I have that dual mind where I can flip, where it's like, well, you had an intent and you had some needs. And so you imagine that this oak taught you this and this and that. And that was one of the hardest lessons for me. Ayahuasca actually cured me of this, because she started putting ways that were, it could not just be my imagination. She would say something in
mm,
ceremony, and then somebody would exactly repeat it. And I was like, all right, you win. And so I was talking to plants for decades, with always behind in my mind, well, I could be making it up. And
mm.
that was one of the biggest journey. Did you ever have that? Did you ever have that doubt of like, well, I could be making it up? Or was it so clear for you? Like you said something during your Oka diet, you really felt that energy that is like, that is not me, definitely.
I definitely, yeah, I had all those questions too of, yeah, is this really me? I feel like that's so natural to, because we're not raised with that being a normal thing. And then you're like, is this just am I being crazy? Am I being silly? It's also true with like the work that I do with the Akashic Records. It all comes down to trust and like deciding that what initially deciding like what you're receiving is valid and true, and then going on the process and the journey of like refining that and kind of like the confirmation of, oh, it actually is, not just like believing everything that comes into your consciousness. You still want to be discerning, but I think it's just a journey that takes time, that's like that you get to see play out over time. If you want to develop that connection, you can have that intention and have that prayer of like, help me trust this and like give me confirmation that this is actually real. Like somehow in some way that I can receive and believe, show me that this is true. And I feel like life will give you little signs and give you little nudges to help you cultivate that level of like of trust and belief. Because without that, like, yeah, it's the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's really the same applied
yeah,
differently. It's just opening to
yeah,
energies that are more subtle than the ones we are equipped with our five senses to perceive, really. That's what it comes down to.
totally. Yeah, and knowing that we've done this forever, so it is in us. It is a natural human thing that we just have forgotten. It's not something new we're making up. So I think that can help too, remembering that your ancestors did this and it was very normal to interact with the world as if it is all alive and animated because it is. And yeah, so I think it's like remembering that. And also some plants, some animals are more interested, I feel like, in connecting with humans than others, and maybe specific human more interested in you than them or whatever. And the oak is one that I find very human um connected. I don't know if it's because we've had such a history with oak. Like you go back in Celtic tradition, it's a long history of this relationship with oak and in very like magical and mystical ways. And so I don't know if it's because it's been a relationship that's been developed and cultivated for a long time or not, but the oak feels very willing to connect. And yeah, as you know, others just aren't. And maybe that oak is interested right now and that one isn't. And they all have like these different personalities. It's like a whole world that you get to experience and explore and start to trust your like sensations around that, like even just like feeling into, is this tree open to connect? And that could be like an initial step in opening communication.
How do you teach people
Yeah.
in your, because you teach people how to open to the Akashic Records. So how do you lead people to open that felt sense that allows them to hear, whether it's, the conversation, the communion with a tree, or whether it's what sits in the beyond?
Mm, yeah. I usually open them into the energy. So it initially starts as a guided experience. So it's like a soft opening to just be in the energy of it, where they're not having to do it themselves. Um, and then I have them start just opening their own records and asking questions and being really playful and curious and not serious about what comes through. I feel like that's the biggest thing when you're learning is just to like let whatever comes up to be what it is, to write it, to speak it, even if you're just seeing a color, like, okay, that's the thing. Or if it's a word that you don't know what it means, okay, that's the thing. And to just like go with it and let the energy move and flow instead of trying to figure out if it's real before you go with it. It's like being more willing to just okay, it doesn't have to be right or real or serious from the start. So yeah, I think that same thing can apply to plants. and communication with them as well, for sure. Just like, just go with whatever it is.
Mm,
You know, if you're like, ooh, I feel a little like tight or something, okay, that's information. And so, yeah, I'm usually just guiding people to really trust whatever sensations or feelings or sights or whatever are coming up, and to also become aware of, if they aren't already, which ones are the strongest for them. Usually we all have like a couple that are stronger. Like some people are more visual, some people feel more like sensation in their body. Some people just have knowing that you can't explain where it comes from. So like leaning on the ones that are the strongest for you
mm.
already. Um, and not needing to visually see things because you think that's the only way, or not needing to hear things because you think that's the only way. But yeah, to like lean on whatever yours are.
And do you feel it's similar when you talk to trees? I mean, it's like, so the people who are more
Yeah.
on, the people who are more visual might see images from the trees, or people who are more in the felt sense might get sensations. Is it the same? I mean, basically, we have a different array of tools, and that's the tool you apply to whatever is greater than the five senses.
Yeah, I would imagine so. That's true for me,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
I find the hardest thing with talking to trees for me was it's like you get these feelings that are just so not human feelings, and you get these
Mm.
downloads that you're having to, it's the translation piece that I always found, like the receiving part was always very easy for me. It's like, I feel you. What does it mean? What are you saying? Because some of the, I'm more of a felt sense person. Once in a while I get an audible, but I'm more of a like, I feel the tree feeling. And it's so different than any human feeling, which is actually how I know it's a tree feeling. And I don't have an equivalent. I'm
Oh.
trying to figure out, what do you feel? And I was blessed. This is actually the title of my book, is Once When I Was Tree. I was blessed with this experience by ayahuasca of, like, I asked her, can I be a tree for one night? And she answered, you can't be a tree because of the rubber suit. And she meant human skin. Like, basically, you already have a physical form. You cannot be a tree. And she said, but you can be tree. You can experience the essence of being tree. And when I was in that space, everything was different. The sense of time is different. The way information comes in with no gating mechanism at all. And every moment contains all experiences, past, present, future, as a packet
Oh.
of information that is delivered now. And yeah, good luck deciphering that with your human knowledge, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. I love hearing you speak to what the experience is like for you. And yeah, I was just kind of like listening and feeling, ah, to be a tree.
To be a tree. Oh, it was
Ah,
wonderful. I wasn't too keen on being human again. But I mean, we have other advantages. We get to move around. Yeah, we
yes.
get to
Yeah.
travel the
Trees are
world.
very still.
Yeah. You know, I found, if you ever try this, sit with a tree and tell, let's say, like an oak or even a juniper, since you are in Sedona, and send the image of the jungle or send the image of Joshua Tree. Like, trees just love hearing about other trees.
Oh my gosh, I love that you said that. I I had this experience during the oak diet of because I was singing, you know, we could sing and we could pray during this week while we weren't talking. And a lot of the songs that I know are in Spanish. And I found that the trees a lot like they were so curious. They like loved the Spanish and they I don't know if loved is the right word, but yeah, like
Like,
like you could feel like the hunger for it almost like, "Ooh, what's that?" Like, "Where does that come from? That's different." And yeah, I remember different moments of telling them stories too. "Oh, this is what this means." this is where this comes from. And there was like this really interesting openness and excitement and curiosity about different places. And so I love that you say that. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
I know what you're talking. I was hiking through the whites, and I had Spanish Pachamama music going on as I was walking, and I really felt that kind of like that, like, what is this?
Yeah.
They're such delightful creatures. I mean, they
They
all have
really
their
are.
they have their personalities. You know, I think I had an experience in Joshua Tree where the in Death Valley with the Joshua trees where they're like, don't even talk to me. And that was my first, I mean, I had gotten indifference before, but to actually get like contempt, I was like, oh, I thought universally trees were friends. I also had an experience in Maine where the trees were just like, oh, they felt hostile. And I thought it was just me.
Wow.
You know, that was before I really dove in with talking to trees, and I was hiking and I was just like, and then I got to one of the shelters after that section, and I was listening to people talk in the shelter, people I didn't know. And several people were like, yeah, it was like crossing Fanghorn. That forest felt hostile. And so it's not always, you know, they are plant friends, but there's a full range just like us. But yeah,
Yeah.
I have never had, like, you spoke to this, like oak is like, come, yeah, come, rest here, sit here. Yeah,
Yep.
so beautiful.
Totally.
You know what I love is we're having this conversation, and so you died at oak, and you were supported by tobacco, and you teach people literally to open their senses. And this is all us in our natural state. Like, there's no need for substance that or psychedelic or psychotropic, or there's no need to alter our mind. So I'm curious, when you were dieting oak, did you feel you were in an altered state, even though there was no
Mm,
altering substance?
good question. Yeah. I, a couple different things. One, yeah, it's such a sober, here in your body experience, which is something I really appreciate about these types of diets. And from what I've heard and what I've experienced too, it's like there's something about that that also makes it easier to carry into your life and to integrate because it's just like, this is you, you're in your normal state, like what you're saying. And but that being said, I'm definitely very sensitive to subtle realms. And so anything could take me on a journey in a sense, like, um, could sit with cacao and go places. And
Cacao.
so I, cacao, hello, cacao. Cacao, I really, side note, connected with in a new way through the oak diet too, of like, cacao is a tree, like it's tree medicine as well. And that was like, obviously, but then it hit me in a new way. So, side tangent, fun
Yeah,
thing
and it's like it's
from
such
that.
an interesting way to commune with a tree because we're drinking its actual seeds.
The seeds of a
Yeah.
tree.
That's
Yeah,
a whole different conversation.
that's a whole, I know. Yeah, next time. um, yeah, so very sober experience, but also very much in many different subtle realms. I would say, like, did I feel in an altered state at times? Yes. Especially when we would sit in ceremony all together and do the breath or do the different work with tobacco. Like sometimes it was very visionary for me. So you are kind of, at least for myself, going into altered states, but in a different way than like really journeying with psychedelic plant medicine. Um, and I know that it's really different for different people. I think that these tree diets can be very subtle um, for some people, just very, very subtle. Like you might not know all the things that you're going through, but just the way that I already tend to work with plants in the world and the earth, like I'm kind of going into all the places and having all the conversations and like, doing all the things, so it feels altered in a way.
Yeah, and I would imagine for those people for who might have subtler experience. I mean, sometimes I'm going to quote a psychedelic plant, but ayahuasca always tells me the proof is in the pudding because I'm always so like, what
Mm,
changed? What changed? And she's like, go live your life and you'll find out. And in the end, I mean,
yes.
you spoke to it that your life is completely different. I mean, you're studying to be a doula and you're engaged and you're pregnant and you live in Sedona, which was not even on your radar. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
the proof is in the pudding. If you sit with a diet and your life changes that radically from what it was before, we can say, well, thank you. That's
Yeah.
really all we can say is
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you to Oak. Thank you to the plants who
Mm,
accompany us, whether in our mugs or, yeah. Um, oh,
yeah. I'm
such,
so grateful that we have them.
yes, such beautiful allies they are. So, Sophie,
Yeah,
tell us,
truly.
like, if people would like, because it's a good entry point, if people want to learn how to talk to trees and open themselves to subtler realms, and they would like to work with you and acquiring those skills, how can people reach out and what are some of the offerings that you currently have
Yeah, the best way to find me is on Instagram at Sophie Blossoms
at
and
at Sophi
just
Blossoms?
Sophie Blossoms. Yep. And just reaching out, sending me a message, and let me know that you want to connect. I also have a little booking if you want to book single session readings, just an Akashic Records reading, or I also offer human design, which is another system that I absolutely adore and love to do readings with that as well. But yeah, for anyone who's interested to learn it for themselves, at this moment, I'm just creating kind of personalized mentorship for whoever it is and whatever they're looking for. So we would create a little journey together. It could be a few sessions. It could be 6 months. It's really up to what you're looking for. So just DMing me on Instagram is the best way to reach me.
Hmm, nice. Thank
Yes.
you. And I have one last question. What what plant energy is the closest to the little being you are growing in your belly right now?
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that question. Immediately flower. What kind of flower? Uh, yeah, I'm seeing. I don't know what kind of flower it is, but I'm seeing almost like a tube shaped, like a foxglove is what it looks like. Do you know what that is? This feels so random. I've never thought this before, but yeah, it's a tall flower with lots of little tubes and pink and white. But it's felt clear for a while that she's very like flower
Hmm.
connected child. Um,
So
yeah.
so if the oak and the rose have a baby, this is what we get.
Wait, that actually makes sense because I was seeing like like the stem, was like a prominent stem of a flower with, yeah, with the petals. So the baby of an oak and a rose.
Sophie, I wish you so much love and so much good luck in your new nest and in your new path. And such a pleasure to have you. For real.
Um,
I love you
oh,
so much.
thanks so much.
Mm.
Oh, thank you so much, Maya. I'm so glad we got to have this conversation. It's always so fun to talk to you about plants.
Yeah, we can do it for hours.
I love, absolutely. Yeah, so much love.
And thank you to the listeners for hanging out with us as we chit chat. And yes, stay tuned. There's a lot more plant friends coming along. So have a great day, and I'll see you you next time. Mwah!
Mwah.
Ciao.